civic leader and a nationally known expert on government reform and community renewal. For his efforts to improve governance and preserve Buffalo's heritage, the Buffalo News has called Kevin, I quote, the conscience of our community. And he has taken a leading movement to let citizens, not politicians, decide the sizes of their local governments. His efforts so far have downsized 5 of Erie County's 45 governments. And the background is quite impressive. Kevin is a graduate of Harvard, Georgetown University Law School, and he has studied international relations at the London School of Economics. The Buffalo News, and I'm proud to say the League of Women Voters of New York State, have both named Kevin a Citizen of the Year. So. After his presentation, there will be ample time for questions and answers. So please let's welcome Kevin.
Thank you very much, and thanks Inez for that magnificent introduction. About halfway through, I lost interest though. I thought she was sort of making it up a little bit.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to thank Inez properly for that kind introduction, so I have one question for her, which is, what are you doing later tonight?
Oh. If I can eat dinner after this one. There you go.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here in Chautauqua County and to be among such distinguished company as the Chautauqua County League of Women Voters. I can tell you that I grew up with my own personal League of Women Voters. I have 5 sisters, all strong and fiercely willed women, and I'm a better person for it. I'm also honored, and I mean really honored, to be here in Chautauqua County, the most bucolic and beautiful setting in all of America, in my judgment. Just to discuss briefly the manner in which we govern ourselves here in Erie County, and this project in which I've been engaged now for perhaps 4 years, as Inez kindly noted. If you ask local politicians, they might say it feels more like 40 years, but it's just been 4 years. If, as the ancient Greeks defined it, happiness is expending all of your energy and intellect in a worthy cause, then you're looking at about the happiest guy in all of Western New York. Because what could be a more worthy cause than to, in a small way, be trying to help create the great future to which we all aspire and I believe all deserve. I trade in the currency of ideas, and my work seeks, as I think we all seek, to restore a sense of shared community across those social and economic and geographic and political boundaries that for too long have divided and diminished us. And I can tell you that this work does, it's a privilege, I love it, it does have its moments. For example, just the other week I was over at, I live in the city of Buffalo, I live in the Elmwood Village, and I was over at Wilson Farms around the corner from my home, and I was sort of standing in line minding my own business, and behind me there was a typically kind and soft-spoken elderly Western New York gentleman, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around and he said, "You know, you look a lot like Kevin Gaughan." and I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Do a lot of people say that to you?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "It must make you mad." It gets worse. It gets worse. Just the other day, I was over in Borders Books. We had a lovely discussion here at our table about literary matters and history and biography. I was in Borders Books just last week to get the new biography. It's actually about a year old now, of Abraham Lincoln, one of my great heroes. This one focuses on the marriage of Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln. And of course, it turns out, not surprisingly, that notwithstanding all of the matters discussed about Mary Todd Lincoln, she was an immensely influential and wise counselor to Abraham Lincoln, and very trusted one. So I was standing in that line. You know how at Borders they have that one line that sort of feeds into several cashiers, one of whom was a very pretty young woman, and she looked up at me and she gave me this dazzling smile, and I smiled back. And I can tell you, as a bachelor poster child, that's an event that doesn't happen near enough, so it's very important to me. So I made my way through the line, and I looked up, and this wonderful, dazzling smile, and the room lit up. And finally, I got to my turn, and I went to her cashiers, and I paid for the book, and she gave me my change, and she looked up one more time and gave me that smile, and she said, "You know, I don't really know who you are, but my grandmother loves you." As we all do, and everyone in this room, I love Western New York, and I try to express that affection by at times suggesting ideas and reforms by which we can take this great community of ours and make it even greater. And in that spirit, may I tell you just one story. It's the story of an idea for an American community. Now this idea was first envisioned by those Native Americans who first settled here along what they called the Beau Fleuve, the beautiful river, the mighty Niagara that defines our community. Then this idea was given shape and purpose by the Erie Canal, the internet of its age, because the day it opened, it brought the world together, and it was the exclusive production of the blood and toil of so many Western New Yorkers, and as we all know, to this day, its praises are sung by school children around the world. And then this community of which I speak, this people of whom I speak, defined humanity in perhaps our nation's most inhumane moment, the American Civil War, when right through Western New York came the most daring expression of human freedom, the Underground Railroad, through Chautauqua County, into Erie County, into the city of Buffalo, as Western New Yorkers risked their lives so that others might be free. And then together we harnessed the power of the mighty Niagara and we lit the world. And in the process we transformed America's manufacturing might into a military power that got into boats, crossed the Atlantic, and saved civilization. And through it all, we gave the world the gifts of Olmsted, Sullivan, Richardson, Lloyd Wright, and E.B. Green. You know, Mark Twain edited our newspaper. Scott Fitzgerald sang our praise. Joyce Carol Oates shaped our minds. Nelson Baker sculpted our souls. Harold Arlen moved us. Mary Talbot lifted us. Dr. Roswell Park healed the past, and Dr. Herbert Hauptman revealed the future. And through it all, and America should know this, through it all we blackened our lungs in steel mills, scooped grain in elevators, and went to early graves. We've sent 2 Western New York men to the White House. There's not another community in America that can make that claim. And we've sent countless young men, and now indeed young women, into the ages, in battlefields around the globe, from Antietam to Afghanistan, including, you can count them, the 34 young Western New Yorkers from Erie County, from Allegheny County, from Chautauqua County, who since September 11th, 2001 got on a plane at the Buffalo Niagara Airport, at the Niagara Falls Air Force Station, went off to fight terror, and never came home. And most important, and I mean most important, we filled our idea of an American community with the ethos and ethic of a fiercely family-oriented people who love their children and make life choices in support of their interests. Right here in Western New York, where East Coast sophistication meets Midwestern charm, there's no place like us, there's no sense of place to match us. Now, that's not Chicago's story. That's certainly not New York City's story. That's not Washington, D.C.'s story. That's your story. That's our story. That's the Western New York story. And it seems to me that anyone who hears that story would say to themselves, my heavens, what a place. What a people. They must be going great guns there. They must have a great economy. I want to be part of that. I want to move there. But as we all know, as we meet here on this glorious late summer Western New York day, the truth could not be further from that. And so as brothers and sisters, today mainly sisters, let's tell the truth. Let's briefly now just tell the truth of what's happened to that story, that magnificent, unique narrative of Western New York that I tried just to poorly summarize. What's happened to that story under our watch? Because we have to remember, we're all temporary stewards to that story with an obligation to make sure that it not only survives, but indeed flourishes. It's a good thing you're sitting down because this is the tough part. Since 1970 here in Western New York, we've lost 255,000 of our brothers and sisters. My students and I, we did the math. What that means is that every hour and 40 minutes, someone walks out of here. Not because they want to, not because they don't like us, but because we offer them little opportunity and no hope. Just since 1996, we've lost 55,000 private sector jobs, and during the same period, we've added 7,500 public sector jobs, government jobs, which any economist will tell you is no way to create a sustainable economy. Since 1996, Western New York has lost 30%. 30% of people between the ages of 18 and 34 in the entire recorded history of America. No community has lost more young people than that. And we know when they walk out of here, with them they take our future. Do you know in Erie County, where I live, we pay the 5th highest local property taxes in America. There's 3,186 counties in America. Only 4 of them have higher property taxes. Here in Chautauqua County, you pay the 10th. The 10th highest out of 3,186. We have stunningly high birth defect rate here in Western New York. It's 1 out of 5. The average in America is 1 out of 9. We have appallingly low literacy rates. You know that here in rural Western New York. And just last year, we were added by a prestigious magazine, Forbes magazine, to a list of the 10 fastest dying communities in America. That's not right. That's not just, and that's not us. And it's not respectful of the story that I just tried to summarize. Now, let's just briefly, to give us context, talk about, honestly, what took place in not the Western New York experience, but rather the American experience during the same period, this recent past. Well, we lost hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands of jobs, housing stock value down, per capita income down. The only measure that I can find in my research, benchmark measure that's risen here in Western New York in the recent past is the number of free school lunches that we provide at public schools, which is a measure of impoverishment. Now, during that same period, while we endured all those failings, here's what happened in America. Since 1990, you can count them, there were seven economic resurgences that swept America, driven principally by the internet age, we talked about Facebook, and all the affluence that it's created around the country. Never touched us here, never came here. It's transformed lives unimaginably throughout this